Before we start the event, we're going to stand and have a moment of silence in memory of those, especially Dr. Ghassemlou, who lost their lives for freedom, democracy, and better life. Now we will stand and have a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you. In the name of freedom, peace, human rights, and democracy, those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. My name is Sarah Akrami, and I'm the president of the Human Rights Activists Association at York University, part of Local 68 Canadian Federation of Students. On behalf of myself, our association, and the Kurdish House, we would like to welcome you and thank you for attending this important gathering. Today, we're gathering here in order to remember the 22nd anniversary of Dr. Abdul-Rahman Ghassemlou's terror. Dr. Abdul-Rahman Ghassemlou was the leader of the Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan, PDKI. He was born on the 22nd December of 1930 in the Ghassemlou Valley near Kurdish city of Urumia. He went to primary school in Urumia and continued his secondary school in Tehran. Dr. Ghassemlou's involvement in politics started in life, and at the age of 15, he co-founded the Democratic Youth Union of Iranian Kurdistan. Due to political and national oppression in Kurdistan, his political activities mostly took a clandestine form. Ghassemlou attended university in Paris and later in Prague. In Prague, he meets Helen Krulik, whom he later married, and they had 2 daughters together, Mina and Hiva. He earned a PhD degree in economics and was an associate professor in both Paris and Prague. He was teaching international economics and thereafter Kurdish studies at Sorbonne University in Paris. Dr. Ghassemlou authored several books, book chapters and articles about politics and economics, and some of them have been translated into a number of different languages. His oft-cited work, Kurdistan and the Kurds, has been until present days consensually recognized as a valuable source, especially regarding the political geography of Kurdistan, the political history of the Kurds, and traditional socio-economic relations in Kurdish society. Besides being an acknowledged scholar and one of the greatest leaders of the Kurds, Dr. Ghassemlou's excellent diplomatic skills earned him an international reputation, especially in Europe. Those who knew and worked with him closely during his academic and political career, Kurds as well as Westerners, recall him as a man of quick wit and a person with a great sense of humor. After several decades of political activity and as the leader of the Kurdish people in Iranian Kurdistan, Dr. Ghassemlou was assassinated in Vienna by the agents of the Islamic Republic of Iran on July 13, 1989. Dr. Ghassemlou was in Austria to negotiate with the Iranian representatives on Kurdish rights and self-government for Iranian Kurdistan. Dr. Ghassemlou, a resolute advocate of the rights of his people and a determined leader who did not rule out guerrilla warfare, was also a man of peace and gave it a chance whenever possible. He went to negotiate table in good faith. However, By assassinating the Kurdish leader, the Iranian regime lived up to the entrenched view among the Kurdish nation that it is not trustworthy and that assassination is part and parcel of its political mindset and practice. When the Islamic Republic of Iran was established in 1979, they had two killing strategies in order to kill their opponents. The first one was killing their opponents within Iran, and the second one was killing their opponents outside Iran. So many of Iranian intellectuals, political activists, and also artists lost their lives outside Iran by the agents of the Iranian embassies around the world. And today we are gathering to remember Dr. Abdul-Rahman Ghassemlou's assassination through our experts and panelists. But before we do that, we have three messages for you. The first message is from the Director of Events from the Human Rights Activists Association at York University, Sahan Khoshbazan.
Hello and welcome. My name is Sahan Khoshbazan, and I am the Director of Events from the Human Rights Activists Association of York University. Our association's mandate is to raise awareness on the violations of human rights in Iran. Therefore, by organizing such conferences and events, we actively advocate for regime change and the establishment of democracy as the only viable solution in ending the Iranian regime's tyranny and rights violations both inside Iran and around the world. Today we are gathered here to commemorate the 22nd anniversary of Dr. Ghassemlou's assassination. Aside from mass executions and violations within Iran, the Iranian regime has murdered many intellectuals around the world through the use of their proxies and agents in their diplomatic embassies. Therefore, Dr. Ghassemlou, who was a figure of dissent in Iranian politics, became victim to the terrorist tactics of the Iranian regime. We, the Human Rights Activists Association at York University, believe that the Iranian embassies around the world are the centers for carrying out its terrorist plots, and their proxies in Canada actively engage anyone who expresses any form of dissent or opposition. Our association was successful in having the campus authorities remove the flag of the Iranian regime from campus buildings, which was placed there and supported by one other Iranian student group who claims that it is the representative of the Iranian student body, when in reality, it is nothing more than a front group working to promote and advocate for the Iranian regime. We, the Human Rights Activists Association at York University, condemn the terror of Dr. Ghassemlou and all other acts of violence perpetrated by the Iranian regime against those who express dissent and opposition. We believe that democratic regime change is the only solution in putting an end to the Iranian regime and its systematic violation of human rights within Iran and around the world. Thank you.
Our next message is from Dr. Faridun Rahmani, the chairman of the Kurdish House, Greater Toronto.
Thank you. I hope you have a nice day. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, 32 years ago, when the Iranian people went on the roads to overthrow the Shah's regime, no one thought that Ayatollahs were going to establish the most tyrannical regime in the history of the country. A theocratic regime of fear, torture, and executions. Millions of Iranians of diverse ethnic and sociocultural origins were subject of the most horrible suffering and oppressions more than ever. The Ayatollah, who once said that they were not interested in participating in political power, soon had control over all aspects of life and society in the whole country, internally as well as internationally. Not only the Iranian citizens but also citizens of other countries in the world community become the target of the regime's aggressions and brutality. In Iran, authorities have continued to discriminate against and repress the people, especially the Kurdish population. Human rights activists, journalists, students, and trade unionists all around the country have been and still are objects of unrelenting judicial pressure. On the pretext of internal security, acts of intimidation and repression have been directed against the entire population. Iranians of diverse religious and ethnic backgrounds are the daily target of the regime's inhumane policies and executions, while many thousands of other best activists and intellectuals were slaughtered in exile. Dr. Abdul-Rahman Ghassemlou, then the Secretary General of Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan, was one of those great Kurdish-Iranian leaders who fell victim to this policy of extermination, exterminating dissidents through terror. He was gunned down in the heart of Europe in 1989 in Vienna by terrorist-diplomats of the Islamic regime in Iran. Iranian people, the Kurds of Iran in particular, are still awaiting through investigation into this case and bringing justice to those who have perpetrated this and many other heinous acts of terror against Iranian freedom activists. In such process of spreading of the fear and terror, unfortunately, some Western countries and their politicians have been directly or indirectly involved, and many of their decisions and policies were intended as goodwill gesture to the Islamic regime in Tehran. Today, many people from the whole continent and a wide political spectrum came together in this room to discuss the issues of human rights and state terrorism in Iran, and at the same time pay their respect to the 22nd anniversary of Dr. Abdul-Rahman Ghassemlou's terror in Vienna. The Greater Toronto Kurdish House and the Iranian Student Association St. York University have jointly organized this event, which hopefully will lead to further awareness to the horrendous political situation in the country. On behalf of the Greater Toronto Kurdish House, its members and board members, I would like to thank you all for being here with us today, and hope you will find the program and the panel discussions informative. Thank you so much, and nice day.
Before we start with our panelists, we have a really special message from the Secretary General of the Amnesty International Canada, Mr. Alex Neep, for this event. Amnesty International continues to be deeply concerned about ongoing and very serious human rights violations in Iran. Concerns range from massive violations of the fundamental freedom of expression to utter disregard for the rights of women, from grave violations of the rights of ethnic and religious groups to widespread use of the death penalty and torture. All of this occurs in a context where those responsible for violations are not held accountable and do not face justice. It is vital that we do everything possible to maintain pressure on the Iranian government to end the violations and to remind the rest of the world that they must not look away from what is happening in Iran. Your gathering today and your clear commitment to protecting human rights in Iran plays an important role in this vital campaign. I wish you well today and in your ongoing work. Alex Neep, the Secretary General of the Amnesty International Canada.